Thank you very much. Ministers of State, members of the National Dialogue Planning Committee, honorable members of Parliament, senior government officials, representatives of organized labor, employers, the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is with deep appreciation and a strong sense of national responsibility that I welcome you all to the presidency this afternoon for the formal presentation of the National Economic Dialogue Final Report. This initiative, which was launched 3 months ago under the theme Resetting Ghana, Building the Economy We Want Together, was conceived as a call to action and a platform for consensus building, realism, and reform. This occasion is significant because it concludes a far-reaching national conversation on our economic future and begins a new phase of implementation rooted in our collective insight and our shared commitment. Let me begin by commending first the Planning Committee and also commending all stakeholders, public institutions, the private sector, trade unions, think tanks, civil society organizations, youth leaders, academia, and our international partners who participated in the dialogue process with candor, technical depth, and a sense of patriotism. Your contributions to the success of the dialogue have been invaluable. When we initiated this dialogue, we were under no illusion about the gravity of the economic crisis we had inherited. Record debt, runaway inflation, high unemployment, and a complete loss of confidence in the economy's governance. The dialogue was therefore not an academic exercise. It was a necessary intervention in order to achieve our agenda to reset. The final report presented today reflects a broad consensus on what needs to be done to stabilize our economy, restore investor confidence, and put our country on a path of inclusive and resilient growth. It offers practical homegrown policy solutions across 10 priority areas, and I want to share briefly how your government is already responding. And the first is restoring fiscal discipline. One of the dialogue's most precise conclusions is that we cannot rebuild confidence in our economy without restoring fiscal discipline and eliminating structural inefficiencies. We have therefore swiftly amended the Public Financial Management Act to introduce a binding debt ceiling aimed at Ghana's debt to GDP ratio, aimed at reducing Ghana's debt to GDP ratio to no more than 45% by 2028. To support this, we are establishing an independent fiscal council by the third quarter of this year to provide professional, non-partisan oversight of the national budget and borrowing framework. This body will publish regular assessments to keep the government accountable to the people. The second is energy sector sustainability. The dialogue recognizes growing energy sector liabilities as the greatest existential threat to fiscal consolidation and macroeconomic stability. Our energy sector carries a debt burden of over $3.1 billion US, with an estimated $1.8 billion US more required to finance fuel procurements for uninterrupted thermal power generation in the coming months. If left unaddressed, this situation significantly threatens national productivity and industrial growth. While we have devised a strategy to liquidate this debt and staunch the bleeding in the power sector, we must take advantage of recent gains created by appreciation in the value of our currency to accelerate the solution to our energy sector challenges. In line with the dialogue's recommendation to boldly tackle the crisis in the energy sector, Parliament yesterday approved an amendment to the Energy Sector Levies Act and a certificate of urgency, introducing a 1 cedi, Ghana cedi, increase in the energy sector recovery levy. This decision, though difficult, is necessary and justifiable. The additional revenue projected is 5.7 billion cedis annually. This revenue will be strictly ring-fenced to pay down legacy energy debt, finance ongoing fuel purchase, and avert the risk of recurring power shortages. Funds from this levy will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. And the minister is here. I know when money falls into the consolidated fund, it faces certain hazards. It will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. The fund will be regularly audited and audit reports made public to ensure its transparent use. While initially much of this revenue will go into the purchase of fuel to ensure stable supply of electricity, with the ongoing developments in the upstream sector, we expect to receive more gas from our E&I Sankofa and Jubilee and 10 fields. With also the assurance of additional gas through the West African gas pipeline, we expect to substantially reduce the use of liquid fuels in our energy mix. At that stage, the resources generated by this increased levy will be channeled to pay down accumulated legacy debts in the power sector. With the recent gains in macro stability and strengthening of the Ghanaian cedi, this levy is not expected to result in any immediate fuel price increases at the pump. We are fully aware of the burden this will place on households and businesses, but I want to assure Ghanaians that this decision was not taken lightly. Furthermore, the government will continue working to reduce systemic inefficiencies in the energy procurement and distribution sectors, while enhancing targeted social interventions for vulnerable groups. Reforming the tax system for growth and fairness. Another central recommendation of the dialogue was to reform Ghana's overcomplicated distortionary tax regime, which has become both a disincentive to investment and a burden on the ordinary citizen. Accordingly, the government has moved to repeal 4 punitive and counterproductive taxes within the first 90 days of this administration. The electronic transfer levy, which was known as the e-levy tax, the emissions levy, and the betting tax. Additionally, we're undertaking a comprehensive rationalization of the VAT regime to remove cascading effects and restore predictability and fairness in VAT taxes. After stakeholder consultation and parliamentary review, these changes will take effect from September 2025. Our goal is to have a leaner, simpler, pro-business tax framework that supports growth and compliance. Reviving the productive economy. The dialogue reaffirmed that no nation has ever taxed or borrowed its way to prosperity. Therefore, we must refocus national development around production, exports, and value addition. To this end, we're rolling out our flagship 24-hour economy program, targeting agro-processing, logistics, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, and public safety sectors. Firms operating in second or third shifts will benefit from fiscal incentives, utility discounts, and labor support schemes. This approach will help us expand job opportunities, reduce youth unemployment, and increase output with significant new capital outlay. We are repositioning the Ghana Export Promotion Authority to lead the implementation of a new accelerated export development strategy aimed at raising non-traditional exports to $10 billion by 2028. Export zones, port automation, and trade facilitation reforms are being aligned with this goal. Addressing structural constraints and labor market realities. Ladies and gentlemen, the dialogue made it clear that Ghana's crisis is not just fiscal, but also structural. We face a mismatch between our educational outcomes and our labor market needs, inefficiencies in public service delivery, and weak coordination between central and local governments. The government is therefore finalizing a public sector productivity and reform strategy to be launched in January 2026. This strategy will rationalize state institutions, reduce duplication, digitize operations, and improve service delivery standards. Through the National Skills Development Authority, we shall align tertiary and technical education with Ghana's industrial.
1 liter beer, 1 liter be better 1 cedi. Every 1 liter be better 1 cedi. Prophet. Let us send ya beya. Ebenye skeptia e kanintem. E ya nasum. Ya nasum that. Na 1 gallon yewura na na do free so. Time o be transfer na petrol 1 gallon e say. Be better Orban e say. 1 gallon e must be 25 cedis and 20 cedis. Enti no. You run another by 8 years. It could do say.
Me pacho could do 95 cities. 5 cities to 100 cities, pacho. And then pacho 1 liter. Eko could do 18 cities. 1 liter. Pacho.
The same Ramama by what you be saying, President.
Me pacho what this one must say about 48 cities.
Petrol.
Gallon bako.
1 gallon.
Pacho.
And no 50 cities.
And you 50 cities, pacho.
1 city in the Insta.
Problem.
Everything not a calendar.
Problem. Person who say what I want my form.
I was some going in 2 cities.
Because what is so baby?
I was what is baby? I didn't know. I didn't do 95.
Yes, sir.
I was quite a bit could do 95. And to be a year. You Ramama, the only year you.
Robert,
100%.
Obiti for Levy and compare with.
That be the Levy the Sunday a poor.
I am some
and no comedy a day. Then of the Levy.
That's the question.
I didn't know the Levy.
That's the question, Prophet.
Corona tax and that tax for your then of the Ghana. I can't come over to energy in the sector. Come over to still, we are still suffering here. Move on to your shame.
All right, abusuafo yɛma mpanyi John Dramani Mahama waba bekasa afa D Levy no ho sanso na opambo enso akasa afa D Levy no ho bi kokua nan enso de ne free baby de ababom e wo highway no so abusua tamuchuku mo videos nyina wa ha mebo amawati nemom de mesero no say obe subscribe to the page no like no wa share ama foforo enya bi ahwe follow all the social media platform as Van Dyke Gate tamuchuku abusia ensem no man bone tantamo pudugo pa che sensem polo ma bode bede me de to apam petros na me de adoma to sema bone kedan na me de amawo twa me ho ba me ba ekomo no ye de be hihye so. All right abusia ya ba ne aba opambo the nation's prophet akasa alpha the new petroleum tax na eba na efenu D Levy commonly known as Dumsor Levy abusia opambo akasa fa ho na kasa wo kasa no se sei say once in esana anaseso tamuchuku because episode we more there because your man pani John Dramani Mahama o se one side saso na kwakuwa nan enso achichire de kufuwa o sanim e de ma your man pani John Dramani Mahama e ne eslara o mo de ba somewhere 2015 no abusia saso en wakasa bi elsade bi ama vice president dada ti se friend Mahmoud Baumia ono so kwakuwa nan atubi ama no abusia tamuchuku because episode we the more the abusia without wasting my time yeko ti opambo ni nsema oka efe D Levy no ho abusia se wonsi ni so ana seso ana oka bia Ghanafo yenko hwemra
ani abai edi 1 city patrol
yes abai that na brokebuwa e kana no ohye
anu ose
na no odin
na
yebodi enye
odi for patrol almost
3 billion
US dollars
3 billion
US dollars.
And yes,
Prophet,
when it is billion in dollars, then must and yes, can want some
prophet.
What you would have this can what you would have there.
I didn't with the papa.
And I come to one of pay.
I don't pay over every I made it into coming and patrol. And now my me.
It was yet top petra. Samimi to be a better 1 city.
1 liter beer,
1 liter be better 1 city. Every 1 liter be better 1 city.
Prophet.
Let us send you a bear. The Benya scripture a canning tem. I am not soon.
That's
now 1 gallon, you are now to freeze. Time over transfer, not petrol 1 gallon.
About
Urban
1 gallon must be 25 cities and 20 cities.
And you know, you run another by 8 years. It could do say.
Me patrol could do 95 cities. 5 cities to 100 cities, patrol. And then patrol 1 liter, echo could do 18 cities. 1 liter. Patrol.
The same Ramama by what you be saying, President.
Me patrol what this one must say about 48 cities.
Petrol.
Gallon bako.
1 gallon.
Patrol.
And no 50 cities.
And you 50 cities, patrol.
1 city in the Insta.
Problem.
Everything not a calendar.
Problem. Person who say what I want my form.
I was some going in 2 cities.
Because what is so baby?
I what is baby? I didn't know do 95.
Yes, sir.
I was quite a bit could do 95. And to be a year. You Ramama, the only year you.
Robert,
100%.
Obiti for Levy and compare with.
That be the Levy the Sunday a poor.
I am some
and no comedy a day. Then of the Levy.
That's the question.
I didn't know the Levy.
That's the question, Prophet.
Corona tax and that tax for your then of the Ghana. Come on for energy sector. Come on for still we are still suffering here. Monfantia shame. Monfantia shame. I had 4 tax, a book of 4 tax, PBR tax, and Papa Swapia Magana. Anya shame. Boho grand to be. Boho and 2 toilet time. You let me receive Ghana. You need a good independence.
All right, Abusia, upon board any soft chief, and you could see your mobile natures only. Upon board, next summer, Kenya and such as say, Patrol now, Mahama, it's my abuama, a price and above for me, so all day. Tax crack was your crana, and Hano. Now, if you was in Crampono, is Abusia, many body so much or comment session. No, I say video, I'm off for any better. For all the social media platform, Abusia, young Coco and I catch. Kwakwana ebusa ye mampani dada John Dramani Mahama say Esther bi na mo de buy no somewhere 2015 obusia that time is kano omo de yedai no APP so be so ma agi agu a chese no energy sector wo ka bebe da wo se pu no obusa John Dramani Mahama say sa Esther no di ade a eba eka ababeda energy sector kwakwana obusa MPP ni NDC say eka no efri hia abeda energy sector honom yekwo ni kokoti kwakwana
the governing National Democratic Congress almost pass Emrebia say 1 city yeah they better fuel so 1 liter of fuel beyond 1 city that's so sir and then a man to mobile side we are train nimbisa say a didn't mobile passes our bill no I'm a Ghanafo around this time me kumesi mentiase me pese me tiase but me tiase so enye yi and minti tiase say DNT in your 5 to 6 months into the administration mobile side way say energy bill oh how amode beboa energy sector no me ne mo ya adwen enye yi this am wa moba e be kire ase yi me tiase just say 1 city o enye 1 city na amode koto petroleum products no so ene ye hu no I'm going to show you why. And I believe that many Ghanaians tend to agree with me tonight. Say 1 city in you no. Say me any of the cars that I may drive, depending say maybe fuel saying enemy dear gumino. 1 city on a liter and you want sir. No. Sir energy taxes here modebe. And I'm implementing. You implemented the same energy taxes and what memu ha Ghanaians. Mr. Says he cannot mobilizing a DA any idea NPP NDC moment country. Come and tell me. NPP implemented be what would be by NDC should be by and NDC for Masiabe and the modest tax. Then you come back and tell us, oh, Yamfa tax where ma assembly Ojatana beto mainim asem we beba ehibesi and some basa and throw and ada akoshisam and abrabasem nkwa. This is what you are doing to the people of this country. Government in penny for was saying and I'm joining the ordinary Ghanaian on the street to pay these levies and taxes, including this very one we are yediabetui. Kwashom. And all the ministers ni nara. District municipal chief executives, high-ranking government officers, muina, including say, obeko ministers ni bikwa fie no. Ya waka ya parki ho ni edi kodwom. Ya waka ho ya parki ni edi kofa school nkrao. Ni nara fuel cars ni drone nara. Enye ni sika no odi tua, aban ni tua.